First Lady Melania Trump wasn't physically at the big Ukraine war summit in Alaska, where her husband, President Donald Trump, met with Russian President Vladimir Putin, but she made her presence felt in a very personal way. Trump handed Putin a letter from Melania, urging him to think of the children caught in the middle of the conflict and to end the violence.
It was a beautiful letter. It was very well received by him.
Some children are forced to carry a quiet laughter, untouched by the darkness around them, a silent defiance against forces that could steal their future, she wrote. Mr. Putin, you can single-handedly restore their melodic laughter.
She loves children, and she hates to see something like this happening.
Now, you'd think the heart of the story would be the message, right? But online, people couldn't stop talking about something else entirely, her signature. Shared on social media by Attorney General Pam Bondi, the letter's signature got everyone buzzing because it looked, well, a lot like Donald Trump's own Sharpie scrawl. Donald Trump and Melania Trump's signatures. So weird, one person tweeted, posting a side-by-side image. Another added, Melania has the same type of signature as Trump. Odd. Even on Facebook, users were asking, why does she have the same Sharpie signature as Trump? Some went further, claiming she didn't even write it herself, though of course there's no proof for that.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake.
Curiosity about her handwriting isn't new. Over the years, Melania's signature has changed. Ask Elon Musk's Grok AI chatbot, and it'll tell you that after marrying Trump in 2005, her elegant cursive evolved into a sharper, more stylized form, something that mirrors Donald's style. Analysts say it could be for branding unity, faster signing, or just a reflection of her privacy and tenacity.
You think it's easy being First Lady? It's not.
Bart Baggett, a handwriting expert, agrees this is about style and branding rather than anything shady. He points out Melania's angular letters and long downstrokes, saying this style existed even before she met Donald.
I'm my own person, he's his own person.
But over the last decade, her signature has morphed, adopting a Trumpian flair. Baggett calls it almost like a logo now, a personal brand reflecting strength and confidence. The letter to Putin, he adds, has what he calls an aggressive signature, fitting, considering the dramatic B-2 stealth bomber flyover during the summit and all the pomp that accompanied their first meeting. You don't want hearts and flowers on your letters when there's this much pressure, he says, referencing a softer note Melania once wrote to children in a hospital in Italy. As for the famous Sharpie, the pen everyone jokes Trump can't live without, Baggett says it's no surprise it was likely used. People who write heavy often choose Sharpies because they're passionate writers, he notes. Trump himself once explained in a 2018 HBO documentary that he switched from expensive pens to Sharpies because they wrote better and cost almost nothing. Of course, some online couldn't resist speculating whether Melania used an Autopen, that mechanical device Trump has accused President Biden of using earlier this year. One ex-user joked, the Autopen can only have one signature preset. Baggett dismissed that, saying there's no reason to suspect anything shady here. Her signature, he says, is consistent with her known handwriting, sharp and angular, with a confident, almost Trumpian edge.
And to be with the man as my husband is, you need to know who you are. You need to have a very independent life as well.
Meanwhile, the internet is still buzzing. Was it a Sharpie, an Autopen, or just Melania being Melania? Until anyone officially confirms, it seems we'll be left guessing. But even with all the fuss over her signature, Melania's handwriting got way less attention than her husband's surprisingly friendly attitude toward Putin.
I speak to him a lot.
I mean, sure, world leaders sometimes get along, but this? Many believe Putin might have some compromising information on Trump. And given Putin's background as a former KGB officer, it's not exactly far-fetched to imagine he could have some, let's just say, unflattering files tucked away. So what could this dirt possibly be? Well, let's explore some of the most talked about theories. Roman Besmertny, a political observer, shared a blunt theory that Trump may be on the hook with Moscow, controlled by Putin. According to him, Certain political moves, like the idea of a so-called peace memorandum between Ukraine and Russia, are nothing more than delaying tactics, giving the Kremlin time while pretending to aim for peace. In his view, Trump should understand this. But if Trump's behavior seems off in this context, Bez Mertens suggests it might be because someone in Moscow is keeping a tight grip.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made.
And here's where it gets even more eyebrow-raising. Bez Mertens pointed out the infamous honey trap cases in London, where women were allegedly planted in high-profile men's lives, followed by blackmail or worse. He referenced how NBC once showed Trump at Moscow beauty pageants, surrounded by glamorous women.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the... You can do anything.
His take? That could have been a very deliberate signal. The kind that says, we have material and we can use it. Subtle? Not really. Of course, another widely discussed theory is the one we all heard during and after the 2016 US election. Russian assistance in Trump's political rise.
Я пользуюсь случаем, хочу поздравить его с избранием на пост президента.
Two recent books revisit this. Interference by 3 of Robert Mueller's former deputies. Mueller, being the former special counsel who led the Trump-Russia investigation, gives an inside look at the probe, detailing repeated contacts with Russian operatives and Trump's many attempts to block it, including written answers full of, "I do not recall." They avoided subpoenaing him, leaving key financial questions unanswered.
Do you respect Putin?
I do respect him.
Do you?
but when
Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with them.
Unredacted by Christopher Steele, a former British spy, takes a bolder approach. He suggests there may have been compromising material from Trump's 2013 trip to Moscow and possible secret meetings between his associates and Russian agents. In his book, Steele also warns the Kremlin is still trying to sway US politics today.
Yesterday, reporters asked me if I thought President Putin was smart. I said, of course he's smart, to which I was greeted with, "Oh, that's such a terrible thing to say."
And then there's the most sensational theory of them all, Agent Krasnov. Former KGB officer Alnur Musayev once claimed that Trump was recruited by the KGB during a 1987 trip to Moscow at age 40 and given the code name Krasnov. Now, Krasnov is a pretty common Russian surname, but it comes from Krasny, meaning red, which, given the Soviet era, has its own symbolism.
Does the Russian government have any compromising material on President Trump or his family?
When President Trump visited Moscow back then, I didn't even know that he was in Moscow. Well, please just disregard these issues and don't think about this anymore again.
This isn't the first time the claims surfaced. In fact, American journalist Craig Unger explored it in his book, American Compromat. His source, former KGB agent Yuri Shvets, said Trump had been on their radar since at least 1980, when he bought hundreds of televisions from a store owned by a Soviet emigre, a business Shvets claims was actually a KGB front. By 1987, Shvets says, the KGB made their move.
I say it's better to get along with Russia than not.
When Trump came back from that trip, he suddenly bought full-page ads in major US newspapers criticizing American foreign policy, to the tune of nearly $95,000.
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share.
He also floated the idea of opening a Trump Tower in Moscow.
You could do a better job at negotiating an arms control agreement with the Soviets than some of these professionals who've been trying to do it for years.
I didn't say me, Mike. I said somebody has to do it. If it were me, that'd be fine. I could do it.
And that's when he started presenting himself less as a flashy businessman and more as a foreign policy commentator.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life.
Of course, the 2019 Mueller report did examine his ties to Russia and found links between the Russian government and Trump's campaign, but said it couldn't establish that there was a coordinated conspiracy. Trump's response to all of this? In 2019, when asked if he worked for Russia, he called it a big, fat hoax and said it was disgraceful to even raise the question.
It was a disgrace to the FBI. It was a disgrace to our country. And you would say that was a total witch hunt.
So, After hearing all these theories, from political strings to business motives, election interference, and even Agent Krasnov, which one sounds the most believable to you?